Okay, the topic of discussion is Chinese models. So whenever we speak about Chinese goods, okay, we think that it is inferior and then it is only for short-term use. For durability, you have to go for a Japanese or a US brand. Okay, that has been the saying. But at least in the case of AI, it is a bit different. That is what I feel, at least based on my past 2 months exploration of the AI arena. So whenever I speak about Chinese models, I mean DeepSeek. Then you have got Quen, okay, from Alibaba, and then you have got model GLM from a Chinese company, okay, who gives their API for $30. Only caveat is that okay, they'll be using your data for training. Okay, so why China? See, with the advent of DeepSeek, okay, China started a new trend as well, open source model. But can we say that it is open source model? Definitely not. Not. It is open weights model. Okay, so what is the difference between an open source model and an open weight model? Okay, whenever one of the Chinese company releases their model, you can actually download the model from Hugging Face or some public domain sites, and you can actually deploy it locally. But what you get is the weights, as well as maybe they will see if it is an open source model, they will give everything, the text on which okay they trained it, and what were the assumptions about the network topology, everything. Otherwise, okay, you will get only the weights, and then you can load using a Python library into the memory, and then you can do the inference locally as well. And most of the Chinese companies give API access to their facility as well. The problem with API access is that we are not sure about data, especially to hand it over to a Chinese company. But at least in US, people have been trusting Gmail, Facebook with their data. So far, okay, nothing big has been reported from there. But since China is actually a closed country, we cannot say okay what is going to transpire there. Okay, but what Chinese companies are essentially doing is that okay, they are actually trying to win the distribution game. So what they are actually planning to do is okay, they distribute their models freely so that okay, they can increase the adoption. With the increased adoption, they can actually do API sales. That is how they are actually planning to monetize it. In the case of Alibaba, they can actually take the footsteps of AWS or Amazon in order to actually monetize their stuff. Okay, DeepSeek used a technical distillation in order to come up with the model. Now they have added reasoning support to the model, and people have been using it as a substitute. Okay, a poor man substitute for high-powered models like Cloud Code, Cloud Opus 4.7, or for that matter, OpenAI's 5. GPT 5.5. So that's how things are actually going on. So one advantage of Chinese models is that okay, you can actually download it locally, and without uh, fearing the network denial of service attack or network attack, you can actually consume the model. Okay, so that seems to be the biggest advantage of Chinese models. But you have to wait for the next version of the Chinese model to come if you want to upgrade your service. Okay, if one of the problems with the LLMs are that okay, they are not able to do something called continuous learning. So when one model comes and then we have been using it for a couple of months, despite doing RAG and all, you won't be able to get accurate result on the contemporary affairs. If you want to get that, you need to get the next version of the model. See, if they had made the whole model open source, including the training data, how they tested it, and whatever the hardware infrastructure they used, if everything was open, then somebody else would have been able to, if it is fat pocketed, okay, he can actually at least replicate the stuff. But with most Chinese models, that is not the case. They are only releasing the weights. even if in the fast moving consumer goods industry, Chinese goods are inferior, and but in the case of uh, LLMs, okay, they have done a wonderful job. And when US companies are actually trying to charge back their actual infrastructure cost, the adoption of Chinese models will actually go up. And I'm seeing a future where, okay, China will, these companies will open source their whole assets, so that anybody interested can actually reproduce the model exactly as is, and then do supervised fine tuning to create small language models as well. So I think even if, okay, from India, if you take a look at it from a geopolitical perspective, China is our arch enemy. But in the case of open source models, or in the case of LLMs and the emerging AI economy, they seems to be an ally of the masses all across the globe. Otherwise, okay, tech oligarchs of US would have actually taken us up, taken us for a ride. I hope this was useful. Uh, Thank you very much.